So, you want to learn Nomad. Whether you're solo queuing, 5-stacking, or just don't trust your half-witted teammates to hold your flank, Nomad is the operator for you. Nomad's kit comes jam-packed with everything you need to play vertically or take a site directly. Whether you're a fan of the ARX or the AK, Nomad has access to a custom side-mounted air jab launcher which fires non-lethal sticky grenades that completely disorient enemies within their blast radius. These air jabs can be used to cover your flanks while you breach above a site, or you can use them to disorient enemies who attempt to run out on you while you drone or breach a wall. But be careful. Misplacement of your air jabs could let an enemy slip through and flank your team, potentially costing you the round. But before you even have to worry about your air jab placement, you need to make decisions about which loadout to bring. First, let's go over Nomad's primaries. You have a choice between the AK-74M or the ARX-200. Both of Nomad's primaries are average statistically, with the AK having a base damage stat of 44 and a fire rate of 650 rounds per minute, and a DPS of 477. Since the average DPS in Siege is around 500, the AK is technically a below-average weapon, but its saving grace is its 40-round mag, making the gun perfect for pre-firing in long sprays. Nomad's other option is the ARX-200. This weapon has a base damage stat of 47 and a fire rate of 700 RPM. Its DPS is about 548. But despite all of these stats being average or above average, the ARX only has a 20-round mag. Unfortunately, the low mag capacity combined with the higher fire rate of the gun will leave you reloading frequently. Now, either of those primaries are a fine choice. It really just depends on your playstyle, so you're going to have to make your own decision here on which one you bring into your fights. Now you have a choice between two secondaries, the 44 Magnum semi-auto with a scope mounted atop it, of course, or the PRB-92, which comes with the default unmagnified iron sights. For this decision, you should take the optic on your primary weapon into account. If you are running a magnified optic, such as the ACOG, the PRB-92 would suffice the need for the close-range encounters you might deal with in your games. If you are using an unmagnified optic, such as the red dot, reflex, or the hollow sight, the scoped 44 Magnum pistol will give you the edge in long-range engagements, while you can rely on your primary rifle in close range. For the last choice you will have to make, you can either take soft breaching charges or stun grenades. For this decision, consider where your team is pushing. If your team will be taking a site directly, stun grenades can be used to waste Jaeger's ADSs, ensuring your air jabs won't get zapped out of the air. If your team will be breaching above a site, taking breaching charges can aid in the destruction of the floor. Now it's time to talk about placement. This is the most common and most deadly mistake I see amongst players, including myself and my teammates. There are three common scenarios in which an air jab needs to be placed to cover your flank. The first is on a doorway. This is the most straightforward and easiest placement. As you can see, my friend Vigil was easily able to destroy my air jab when I placed it on the side of the door. It's on the very top. Now, when I placed my air jab on the top of the door frame and told Vigil exactly where it would be, giving him the opportunity to pre-fire the air jab, he was still unable to shoot it out. An alternative placement you can use for doorways is placing the air jab further to the left or to the right of the doorway. This option works most of the time, but sometimes, because of the way the walls are textured in Rainbow Six, the air jab can lose line of sight on a defender. For example, this pole on Chalet right here would block the line of sight of the air jab if it were to be placed to the left of it. So make sure you think about where your air jabs are and what the line of sight they have is going to look like. The next placement to understand for air jabs is a placement at the top of a staircase. This placement is meant to block attackers trying to come up the staircase to flank your team. See where this one is placed? Watch what happens. Mira was easily able to destroy that air jab from the bottom of the staircase, barely even exposing herself to Nomad, who was playing at the top of the staircase. To avoid that happening, place the air jab to the left or the right of the staircase. But make sure that it is not hanging over the edge. This way, a defender coming up the staircase will not be able to shoot it out. However, in this case, this specific case on the staircase on Chalet, right here, the pillar goes all the way to the roof. That means that I can place an air jab higher up on the pillar, making it almost impossible to impact out. And please, for the love of God, don't place it right here. Let's look at this one example of a staircase on Chalet. This staircase is very unique. There are no other staircases like it in the ranked map pool at least. Placing an air jab traditionally can easily be seen from the staircase through these bars. So here we have to switch it up a little bit. An air jab can go on the crossing beam on the roof to protect from flanking defenders, but make sure you don't place it too low because it will be seen from the staircase. The next placement is the hardest because of the way that the bottom of staircases vary in R6. You don't want to be placing air jabs at the top or the middle of the staircase, where most of the viable spots for an air jab to cover them are, because defenders can trigger them without being exposed to you, meaning you just lost an air jab and you didn't get a pick. If the bottom of a staircase has a wall next to it, you can place an air jab on that wall to cover your flank. But a lot of staircases don't have a wall next to them, so you're kind of better off just placing an air jab on a door to cover your flank. These will be much more effective than a lot of your other options. Before we get on with the next segment, let me show you another cool trick. If there is a soft wall, or a soft hatch in a place where you need your flank covered, you can melee a hole in that soft surface and place an air jab on top of your melee hole. The air jab will have the same effect on enemies on the other side of the wall as it would have directly. But the wall stops sound propagation, so the defenders won't be able to hear the air jab as loud as they normally would. Now that you know how to place air jabs to cover your flank, what do you do when someone does flank? Well, depending on how close you are to the triggered air jab, you may be able to rush the defender and kill them while they're downed. However, this is a very risky strategy, because defenders can fight back shortly after being air jabbed. The best possible thing you can do after a defender gets air jabbed is tell your teammates. And then, based on how the round is going, you can either set up a drone and have someone who died play on it and watch the flank, or if everyone's alive, someone can hold the flank with their gun and kill the defender when they push up. But flank coverage is not Nomad's only function. If your team is pushing onto a site more directly, through windows or through a wall, you can use your air jabs to block off rotation holes and doors that are critical for defenders' control of the site. The same logic for doors applies to covering rotation holes. The best spot for an air jab is at the very top of a rotation hole. But be mindful, sometimes defenders can wallbang your air jabs, so don't rely on air jabs you put on soft walls 100%. However, it is very important that in these situations you bring stun grenades. Jaeger's ADSs and Wamai's magnets will destroy your air jabs, so make sure your team brings enough stun grenades to deal with the ADSs and the magnets before you place your Nomads on the rotations. If your team will be planting on a soft floor, you can shoot a hole in the floor and place a Nomad in the floor holes that you just made near the diffuser. This will be very challenging for defenders to see, and it will knock them back when they try to get to the diffuser, telling your team that someone's trying to defuse and pushing them away, which can be very, very helpful if your entire team is dead and the diffuser is almost done ticking. It can sometimes win you rounds. Many people will try to use air jabs to clear out defenders who are anchoring on site, but this is a bad idea for two reasons. If the anchoring defender peeks while you are placing your air jab, you'll be completely defenseless and they'll have a free kill. If you are able to safely fire an air jab into a defender's anchoring position, it takes 2 whole seconds before the air jab activates. This may not seem like a long time, but it gives the defender plenty of time to shoot out your air jab before it can even hurt them. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope that a few things in this guide were actually able to help you out. I also stream on Twitch every day, and I really love getting to hang out and spend some time with you guys over there. And if anything in this video did end up helping you out and you think it's worth subscribing and dropping a like, that shit really helps me out. Thank you guys.